Hey guys, so earlier this year we had the opportunity to sit down with Sonalie. She's the founder of Green Queen Hong Kong.
Yeah, we spoke for over an hour about some really awesome, important stuff, and we took our favorite highlights and condensed them into a smaller, shorter interview.
Yeah, we couldn't fit everything from the interview into this video, so if you want to watch our full talk with her, you can find it on our YouTube channel, and we highly recommend that you do.
We really hope that you enjoy.
What is Green Queen Hong Kong's role in sustainability in the local community here?
I think it's pretty important because we get seen 3 million times a month on Google. Pretty much every search you do that has to do with toxic-free, sustainable, eco, zero waste, you're gonna find a Green Queen.
Yeah.
So our job is pretty important. We're basically sharing the resources, we're telling inspiring stories, and we are also creating awareness with everything we do. Also have the directory and all our treasure trove of articles so people use us as a resource.
What do you think, can you tell some of our readers and some of your readers, what are some of the changes, like the easiest changes that people can make to be more sustainable?
Well, I'm going to give one that's not super popular in Hong Kong, which is cook more at home.
Yeah.
I think that, how you eat is linked to a whole host of sort of chains of what's wrong.
Yeah.
Our food system is broken, and it's not just the quality of the food and what kind of farmers we're supporting and what kind of industrial systems, agricultural systems we're supporting. It's also kind of the whole, food delivery craze, which is, a packaging nightmare. And then just being so dependent on supermarkets and, for convenience, which are just full of plastic packaging, especially here, where even bananas are, individually wrapped.
What is that?
So, yeah, it's very difficult to understand. Another one that I think is super easy to do is to install a water filter. And maybe get a soda stream if you're a soda lover. I love soda water, so I have a soda stream. I never have to buy a bottled drink. I can make my own iced tea. I can make my own sparkling juice.
Yeah.
I try and find solutions that are better for the planet but also better for your health, because I tend to find that if you can kind of talk to people from their personal health point of view, or the health of their children, even more importantly, they are willing to act.
Yeah. Earlier this year, you had posted an article about living zero waste in the year of the dog. Besides the soda stream, what are some of the best products that you're using just this year?
One thing I got really into is things like shampoo bars and soap bars, and just like getting away from having products in the bathroom. I hadn't really thought enough about that, but I think getting into kind of being a minimalist, things like if you're a woman, having a menstrual cup, it's an easy change. You are just saving so much stress from your life and packaging and toxic shock syndrome and all of that. Things I did not know about until this year were things like being able to get a non-disposable razor. I hadn't thought there was a good solution for that, but there are.
Yeah.
And now we have shops here selling them. So you can have these metal razors that, with replaceable metal blades. That's something that really would bother me a lot, because literally you're shaving your non-reusable shaving utensils and debris is going into the landfill. There's no way to recycle it.
Yeah.
There's no way to justify it. And it's a little bit the same with toothbrushes.
Yeah.
So obviously everyone knows you can get a bamboo toothbrush. I don't want to bang on about straws, because I think everyone's made straws their big cause. I think we know we don't need a straw most of the time.
Right.
We could just have a metal straw.
Yeah.
A lot of restaurants here are really taking that on board, which is good.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned that you get a lot of samples and stuff like that for your website. So with that packaging, what do you do with it? We're just curious, because we find that sometimes we accumulate plastic, and is it recyclable? Is it not? What's the responsible way? We save what we can, but...
So we started a podcast earlier this year called The Zero Waste Journey, in order to dive deeper into the zero waste lifestyle issues in Hong Kong and globally. And we did a whole episode on recycling, and the sad truth is that right now we do not have a lot of great systems in place for a lot of the packaging. And then the systems that we do have are limited. So obviously you can recycle glass, you can recycle metal. Paper has become more difficult. Plastic is limited to only a couple of 2 out of the 7 different types of plastic. So the sad truth is that you cannot recycle everything. And that's why I'm a big proponent of, the original zero waste philosophy, which is reduce and refuse before recycle. Because really what we need to do is consume less.
When we travel, we carry a water bottle, utensils, Tupperware. Sam has his bento box. I prefer the collapsible ones.
Those are great.
Those are great. We carry those pretty much everywhere we go. You being kind of an expert in this, are there any essential pieces that we are missing?
No, I think you've got pretty much your. I like my coffee cup as well.
Yes.
One thing I saw, one of my writers actually, she has a collapsible cup, which I think is great because then that's really versatile.
Yeah.
You can just make your cup get bigger, but it's literally a tiny little flat coaster size thing. So I think that's pretty great. I love the idea of having your lunchbox around because your lunchbox is not only to get food, but also if you're shopping for food, it's great to be able to just not go to the meat or seafood counter if you eat meat and seafood, or the deli counter if you like dips or whatever, and just fill those up.
Yeah.
That's something that's really easy to do.
Yeah, definitely.
And in Asia, the other thing is I love street food. I love traveling and tasting local food, but a lot of times in Asia it is styrofoam packaging, it is plastic packaging. So definitely having your own lunchbox is.
What responsibilities do travelers have to be sustainable? Why do you
I think incredibly responsible. I think you should be incredibly responsible. And actually, I'm really glad that you guys are focusing on this niche because obviously in the last 10 years, the global landscape has changed for many big economic reasons. So you've got, the millennials that have come of age that are ready, they want to see the world. In a way, they're much more hungry for travel than their parents. You have, the emergence of huge economies in China and Southeast Asia and India and South America and Eastern Europe, which means that people are traveling more now than ever before. And if you go to any airport, you know that everything's at capacity. So travel has become also a sign of wealth and of sophistication, and people, want to use travel to live a richer life. So on one hand, this is fantastic, right? Because, I would like to pay homage to somebody who departed recently, Anthony Bourdain. He is somebody who really inspired the whole world to travel, and he has to be given credit for at least people traveling for food and discovering really the street culture of countries. So I'm a real big fan of that, of going and discovering, the real city or the real village or the real town, and not just kind of going to resorts and staying there, which is also happening a lot. With the emergence of wellness and health and yoga and fitness, you've got a lot more people going to resorts. Right. So, there is an onus on the hospitality industry, and I think a lot of hotels and resorts are taking that on board and going, okay, we need to be better with our environment. We need to be responsible actors.
Yeah.
But that being said, in the last 10 years, if you go back to places that you've been to over the years, there's a huge, we're paying a price. And Bali is a great example of that. I mean, it has just become a plastic pollution pit. So I do think that as travelers, we have a responsibility to be eco-savvy.
Yeah.
I think vote with your dollar, choose resorts and hotel companies and B&Bs that care about the environment, ask the questions when you're making the booking, engage with the locals. I think that's really important. That's part of being a responsible traveler. Another girl I know, every time she goes to a beach, she does a beach cleanup. Whoever's there, she gets them involved. Why not?
Right.
Be the weirdo on the beach collecting, ocean trash.
Right.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
So, ask the questions, vote with your dollar, do a beach cleanup, visit local community centers, take an active role in your your position in the global economy.
Definitely. Going back to Hong Kong, what about Hong Kong has kind of made Hong Kong sort of this bed of sustainability?
Hong Kong is a great place in that you've got influences from all over the world. You've got the smartest people from everywhere in the world coming to live here, and they're bringing their home country cultures and trends. And so basically they come here and they're like, well, why isn't there a bulk shop? And why is recycling not working? And so they ask these questions, and they force the local community to engage on these questions.
Yeah.
There are a lot of activists here with art, and it's a very easy place to connect with people.
Yeah.
So it's very easy to kind of light a match and start a fire.
Yeah.
And that's what we have that's really special.
What can China do? You know, what needs to happen for sustainability to be a thing in China? How do we make that a thing?
I feel, sitting outside of China, that actually mainland China has some really positive trends that I can see happening. I think that the government is much more committed than our local government to actually solving some of these sustainability issues. And I think that a lot of things, what's great about China is that the sheer number that you're dealing with means that you can literally make huge changes. And so we've been covering lately, there's a big rise in vegetarianism and veganism in China, and that's a much bigger deal than it happening in Hong Kong, where we're a population of 7 million. China's a population of 1.5 billion now. So even a 17% of Chinese people who are looking to be vegetarian is literally world changing. Like no one in the world, no country in the world has those numbers and that power. And I think that all the trends show that millennials in China are actually very, very, very different than their parents. And they are committed to choosing brands and companies that have ethical missions behind them, and that they are much more engaged with their health and the environment. So I actually think that and they are going to be the biggest group of millennials in the world.
Yeah.
So I actually think that there is a lot of hope in China. And I think that China is going to end up driving some of this change, just again because of the numbers. So I think what's important in China is awareness building, because at the end of the day, people need to read about this stuff.
Yeah.
If they read about it and transform, more companies will start in this area. But there is no doubt that in China there is a growing movement in all these verticals.
When we're out traveling, like when we're beyond China, when we're traveling through Southeast Asia, how can we approach local businesses about making sustainable swaps? Like how do we begin the conversation on the importance of not using plastic straws and replacing that with paper straws, with maybe using biodegradable cups instead of plastic cups? How do we start that conversation with local businesses to try to enact change beyond just what we do individually?
So I think for me, I would do it in two ways. One, I would, before I go, try and connect with local organizations. So if Zero Waste, for example, has usually like local chapters in every city. And I would try and connect with kind of activists, people who are in the community, who understand from a first-hand point of view what are the issues and what's needed. Because every city and place and town has different requirements. And then two, when you're in an actual restaurant or whatever, maybe show your metal straw, be friendly, just go, oh, I don't need a straw because, have a few zero waste lines in the local language. But I think just having people be exposed to bringing your own straw or bringing your own container will make someone think.
Yeah, I think the last thing we want to do is just to show up and
tell people
we don't want
what
to be like a sustainability snob, like, what you're doing is terrible.
Or like
you do
a
it like
sustainably
this.
colonialist,
Yeah,
where you
exactly.
just come in and you're like, okay, let me tell you how to live your life. No.
All right, well, thank you so much for taking some time to sit down and answer our questions.
It's been a pleasure. I'm really glad I did.